Hi, I'm Caitlin Classing, and I'm here to, as best I can, tell you the origin story of Tecate, aka Tater. And you'll have to bear with me because it's kind of a long story. So, we're going to have to go back to the year 2009, because that was the year that his mother, a lovely mare called Expedience, came into my life through my dear friend Melissa Hunsberger. And Spetty was a big, beautiful mare, is a big, beautiful mare, really sharp jumper. And the plan was always that eventually we might breed her. But in the meantime, she was supposed to teach me a thing or two, and that she certainly did, because this mare was pretty much a seeing eye dog on cross country. I think just about anybody could have ridden her. But the flip side to that, and the catch, was that I never, not once, in the entire time that I rode this mare, got her on the bit. Not even close. And my primary training method was just to sit really, really still and hope that the dressage judges didn't notice. But they did. Of course, they did notice. So we were frequently dead last after dressage, and my fragile ego did not enjoy that. So there were times, I'm ashamed to admit, that I thought maybe her broodmare career should start sooner rather than later, because Lord help me if I have to keep doing dressage on this red dragon. So we tried to breed her a few times throughout the time we had her, but she either wouldn't get pregnant or lost the pregnancies early on, so I kept riding her, and I think it might have just been the universe's way of saying, kid, this horse is not done with you yet. And good thing that did happen, because in 2014, she got me to Kentucky, and it was definitely a life-changing experience for me. I think until I had seen Kentucky and seen the sport at the highest level, I might have been happy to take on a little bit of a different role in the barn. I always knew I wanted to be in the barn. I knew I wanted to ride, but once I saw the sport at that level, I thought, this is what I want to do. Like, it's incredible, the sport at that level. And so to that, I'm always very, very grateful to Expedience. I think she absolutely changed the course of my life. So she got me to Kentucky, just peeled my eyes wide open. And unfortunately, 8 minutes into our cross-country course, she fractured her pastern. And that wasn't the way that we wanted Kentucky to end, obviously, but it was the impetus to kind of say, okay, this mare's earned her retirement, now let's focus on really getting a foal out of her. And so thanks to my mom's dedication to the project and the professionals over at Select Breeders, we were able to get a foal out of her that year after Kentucky. And that foal is Etc., who's coming 7 this year. And Dan had a really successful season on last year. But I'm getting ahead of myself because I will have to go back and introduce Dan, because he's a part of Tater's story as well. So 2014 was also the year that Dan and I went on our first official date. And those days I went on a fair few first dates, so I didn't think much of it until we went on our second date and Dan said, hey, we should go to Mexico, because why not? And that's when I started to think, this guy might be different. And instead of saying, like, are you insane? This is our second date. I said, sure. So we went to Mexico and had ourselves a time. It had been a while since either of us had been on vacation. We needed to let off a little steam, and that we sure did. So we made the rounds at the local watering holes, and as you do when you're making the rounds at local watering holes, we planned out our lives and how we would live happily ever after. And we noticed as we were making these rounds that all the bars had a beer called Tecate on tap, which Tecate is really just Mexico's version of like a mid-grade mild beer, nothing special. But after you've had enough, it starts to sound like it might be the best name for a horse you've ever heard. So we planned out our lives, and part of that plan was obviously that we would have a horse named Tecate, and he would be a great champion. So time moves on. We're pretty much checking off the list of living happily ever after. And we had a lot of really nice horses come through the barn that we could have named Tecate, but I am in charge of naming in our family, and to me, a name, not only the show name, but the barn name really has to suit a horse. So Tecate's barn name would have to be Tater, obviously. And Tater is a very specific horse. Not many horses could pull off that barn name. So the right horse never came along. We figured maybe it's not meant to be. But Fast forward to 2017, and that was the year that Dan and I got married, and that was also the year that Marsha Brody, owner of the lovely stallion Cimarron, got in touch with my mom about breeding her stallion and Spetty and doing an embryo transfer. And we thought, sure, sounds good. So Spetty went off to be bred and was sent back, declared not pregnant. And we thought, well, these things happen, back to retirement it is. And then later on that year, my mom, being the keen observer of horseflesh that she is, noticed that Spetty was looking a little bit rounder than a retired thoroughbred mare might. So she did her own little preg check, and sure enough, Spetty was pregnant and about to become the world's most geriatric maiden mare. But luckily, thanks to my mom's love and attention and the professionals over at Select Breeders, Spetty was able to have a healthy pregnancy. And in July of 2018, Tater was born. And as soon as my mom sent me the first picture of him, I knew. He was small, brown, and round, just like a little potato, and had this like cheeky little pony look in his eye. Obviously, he was our Tecate. He would be Tater. So that brings our story to its happy conclusion. And we're delighted to have Tater up and going now. I would say, knowing both his mother and his brother their whole lives, I will guess that he's going to be a little bit of a later bloomer. But we're excited to have the journey beginning and to have you all along for it. And I guess if we can take one thing from this convoluted tale, maybe it is that the universe has a plan that's in place that none of us know anything about, but if we put our hopes and wishes out in the world, we might just get them back. So we'll see. I would like to live my life with that sort of optimism and train our horses with that sort of optimism, but who knows? We're excited to have you all along for the journey, not just with Tater, but all the really lovely young horses we have in the barn, and we're very excited to be a part of the Futurity. As always, if anybody has any questions or they want to reach out, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or email, and we're excited to have you along.